Welcome to She Loves the Grid, where we discuss all things F1, whether it's happening. All right, we're back after a crazy race.
Amazing race.
Amazing race. All right, well, welcome to She Loves the Grid on Sunday, literally just a few minutes after the race is over. We're doing a hastened recording today because, well, my week, I'm moving.
Yes, you are. Tell us about it. You had a week.
It's been a week. It's been a week. It's been a week of changed appointments and the moving taking longer than expected, and I'm exhausted, and that's why it's echoey and there's nothing behind me because I'm in my old apartment because I have no internet at my new apartment. And yeah, it's been a week. So if my dog walks by, it's because I'm sitting on a couch because I moved from a furnished apartment to an unfurnished, and it's been a week.
It really has, but you've been working hard, and you just every day you're getting more done. So
yes. The cool thing is, as I told you when we came back here today, because we haven't been here since Friday, and checked the mail, the one thing that stopped me from going to see the race in Barcelona was my visas came in the mail.
Yes. Oh, that's such good news.
I can now travel, which is a good birthday present because it is now my birthday month.
Yes. Birthday month.
You're still older than me for a few more days.
And you know what I was thinking all weekend was like, darn it, we should have gone to Monza. Like we would have seen so much and history being made today, but we probably couldn't have gone to Monza because your dang visa
traveled until yesterday because my visas came yesterday.
Well, it worked out. There you go.
How about you? How was your week?
I think I'll save all the sadness for my therapist. We'll just move on. I'm laughing so I don't cry. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, let's just jump into it. So silly season. We can all exhale because both Lewis and George have signed extensions through 2025. So we've been wondering, Lewis, does he have a contract? Does he not have a contract? Like, they kept saying that he did, but nothing was ever signed. And so this week, they finally announced it. So woohoo! But that now leaves 4 seats open. So we have 1 at Williams, 1 at Alfa Romeo, and the 2 seats at AlphaTauri. So there's still a lot to play for. That is for sure.
Yeah, I was so happy to see that both of those were signed because I do like the Mercedes team and I like both of those drivers. So I'm excited to see what happens over the next couple of years.
That's awesome. I was kind of surprised about George, to be honest, because I don't think his contract was up till next year. So I don't know. They got it done, I guess.
Maybe an extension.
That's what it is, an extension. But still, I just was kind of surprised. Like, you really want to secure Lewis, so I guess get them both done, or I don't know. So good, but good for Mercedes. They know what they want to do, and they feel like they have the best team or the best pairing on the grid, and they got it done. So good for them. Good for them.
Absolutely.
So we did have quite a few special liveries and lids, and Ferrari had overalls, and I am in my Ferrari gear today because Monza and Carlos on the podium. So I just wanted to represent. But let's see. It technically, we talked about this, it's technically Ferrari's home race, but also Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri are kind of claiming it as their home races as well. So this, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, and if not, please go watch us there as well. The Alfa Romeo, I almost said AlphaTauri. The Alfa Romeo livery for Monza was chef's kiss. Like, I am obsessed with this. And maybe I just like flags on cars because I was obsessed with the Williams livery at Silverstone. But this is gorgeous. Gorgeous with the Italian flag kind of over the back of it.
I do. I like that. I like the look. I love that they brought the flag into it and everything too. I think it's really Cool. I like a little extra color on it too, because their car is just to me a
Yeah.
little blah. So
Yeah.
I love the pop. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like this one.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, I just thought it was when I saw it and I didn't know they were even coming out with one, I was, oh, it's beautiful. So very, very nice. And then of course, Ferrari had a special livery for this weekend. They had special overalls. They both had special helmets, which kind of had a very vintagey vibe to it, especially Carlos's with like kind of the stripe down the middle and but the yellow on here is their secondary color. But they were also paying tribute to the Le Mans winners because Ferrari came back this year into Le Mans after I don't even know how many years away from it, and they won. And their reserve driver, oh my gosh, why did I just draw? Antonio Giovinazzi was one of the drivers in Le Mans. So it was just kind of a special little nod to that Le Mans winning team. I mean, really the only Ferrari team to win a race this year, this calendar year. So a nice little nod. And y'all know, I mean, clearly I'm pretty much head to toe Ferrari today, but for sure that Alfa Romeo, I think it wins the livery contest this weekend, in my opinion. In my opinion. And both Joe and Valtteri, and Valtteri rocks a special helmet a lot, and they're so good. But this week they both had special helmets. They both on their helmets had nods to like history and championship winners, and they both also, well, Valtteri's maybe a little bit more had a little bit of a vintage vibe to it. So yeah, kind of loved it.
Yeah,
Kind
it
of.
was really cool. It was neat to see all that. I have to say I do like this. The Ferrari car. I don't know, there's something about it that just it's kind of old school to me.
Yeah, that's totally, I think, the vibe overall they were going to. And I love a vintage look. Yuki also had a special helmet, but it was really kind of more of he used the Italian colors because he has the leaves all over his helmet. And so for this one, he used all the Italian colors because obviously AlphaTauri has their location near Imola, and he is living in Italy, especially during the race season. So I thought that was just a nice little nod for Yuki,
That
for
was really
sure.
cool.
All right, let me jump into some fun facts for you because I always gotta have some fun
We almost
facts
see
for you.
like like some music in there. Fun facts. Bow, bow, bow,
I
bow.
was just thinking that like we need a little, I don't know, maybe I'll ask Randy to make something for us, but he'll be like, ugh, mom. Okay. Anyways, so last week we talked about Max. He tied the record, Vettel's record. I think last week I said it was Schumacher, and it was actually Vettel's record. But we also Fernando last week set a new F1 record for the longest time between a driver's first and their most recent career podium was 7,462 days, and he has been in F1 for 20 years. Like that still blows my mind. And I finally finished the Fernando documentary. Go watch it. It's amazing. But this time he did beat Michael Schumacher's record. So Max last week beat Vettel. This week it's Michael Schumacher. So double check that. Fact checked myself on that one. And actually, with today, with Carlos being on the podium, we've had 10 different drivers on the podium this year, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, especially when first place has basically been a Red Bull, one of the two Red Bull drivers. In that second or third spot to have 10 different drivers up there, I think that's really pretty darn awesome. They kind of come from, I mean, you have both Alpine's drivers have been on the podium, both Mercedes drivers have been on the podium. Now both Ferrari drivers have been on the podium. So 3 teams have kind of encompassed that, but still pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's I wonder if fun facts have to make me think stats at the end of the year.
Oh
Yeah.
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 We totally should have some fun
Years.
fact stats. Wow, that's hard to say. But it still kind of blows me away that both Alpine drivers have had a podium.
Especially for such a rough year that they've had.
Such a rough year. That's what I'm saying is like, how in the world when you've got like Williams, who's really been making strides, and even Aston Martin. Like only Fernando's been on the podium for them, but you have both Alpine drivers on the grid. I mean, or on the podium. I think that's kind of a little bit crazy. But anyways, speaking of Alex, last year he didn't get to race at Monza. So this was the race where he had his appendix burst and he had to have surgery. And Nick DeVries got the call up and he finished in the top 10. Like it was like this whole domino effect, right? And then he gets a seat this year and now he's out, blah, 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 blah. So I guess that Alex went to, they had the same hotel. They actually booked him in the same room that he was booked in last year. And he went down to the lobby and was like, nope, 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 nope. I need a different room.
That was so funny because the commentators were talking about that. They were like, we've never really learned about the drivers' rooms before, but here we are.
I just thought that was really pretty funny. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame him. Superstitious, 100%. I mean, your appendix probably wouldn't burst twice, but like still, let's not take any chances for anything else.
No, he doesn't have one anymore.
Right, no. Exactly. So, but I'm just saying, like, no other medical issues. Let's not have any others. McLaren had a lot of upgrades this weekend, new front wing, rear wing. I don't know how successful that was.
I don't know, because they just didn't seem to be as oomph as they were. They weren't horrible, but they just were kind of in the middle, and kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure why. Just as we were starting to record, I know Lando was doing his post-race interview, and he kind of started off sounding a little, like not thrilled, but I didn't get to hear one word of it. So after we're done, I'm kind of excited to go and take a listen to that. But, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it will be different in Singapore, which will be our next race. But yeah, anyways. So we've talked about this before where AlphaTauri or, Helmet, AKA Chatty Cathy. And I mean, I know he's like Dr. Helmet. So I started to feel a little bad this week that like I should maybe put a little bit more respect on his name and stop calling him Chatty Cathy. But at the same time,
Dr. Chatty Cathy or Chatty Cathy PhD.
We could call him Dr. Chatty Cathy. That would at least get some of the some respect on his name. Anyways, so we've talked about this before where he said they are really going to try to bring AlphaTauri closer to Red Bull. And we're definitely looking at, kind of taking all the stuff from the current Red Bull over to next year for the AlphaTauri. And that came back up again this week, and that they are going to take everything that is permitted by regulations from this year's Red Bull on over. So I think we can pretty much expect that to happen.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Could you imagine though, like 4 of those drivers? And if you think about it, because I already said those 2 AlphaTauri seats are open, Danny Rick can definitely perform at a high level and probably, I mean, the whole reason he got that seat back was what he was doing in the Red Bull in Silverstone after that race, the timing and everything. So you could maybe secure him, but then do you go after another top driver for Yuki's seat? I mean, if you're going to have maybe 4 Red Bulls like fighting it out kind of near the top, what do you do?
Yeah, who knows? It'd be interesting if if you ever catch wind of Yuki practicing in a Red Bull,
I know.
Cool to hear about that.
I think Yuki's done a good job this year, but I don't know. I think he's earned another chance and give him a chance in a car that can compete.
I think so too.
Yeah. At least give him 1 year. Give him 1 year extension and we'll see what happens. Not really a whole lot to talk about in practice, but last week you were talking about the rookie driver rule. And so this week, Felipe Drogovic, he got to drive in FP1 for Aston Martin. So he is a reserve driver for both McLaren and Aston Martin, and he drove Lance Stroll's car in that FP1. He had a really solid practice. I think he's an F2 champion, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And his name has definitely come up, especially I think for that Williams seat. So I mean, you never know. It would be kind of cool to see him in there, but I know a lot of people online this week were making a case for Liam Lawson to stay in F1.
Liam was doing good today, I think.
He did do a good job. He did. I really wish Yuki, would have actually been able to start the race, because I would have liked to have seen the difference between the two. Could Yuki best him again? I'm going to guess yes, but we will never know. We will never know. Alpine did have not a lot of changes, but they did have some changes to their car at the very top, kind of where that, like the very top of the side pod. They had a lot of little extra cuts up there. And that was to allow like the car to breathe a little bit more. And they had the engine cover was more open. But one thing that they were showing during practice was kind of interesting, that they were using this different type of engineering to test the airflow on the car. And basically they had all these little orange, they call them tufts, but I would just say like string kind of tied along the back of the car. And they had tape. And so apparently photographers, as the car is going, is trying to get pictures of that or video of that to see where is the string, like how is that air flowing? Where is the string going? And the commentators were talking about like that is old school engineering. That is throwing it back to like the 1940s or 50s. And, instead of using the FlowViz, they were trying this other, which I had never seen before. So I did think that was kind of interesting to watch that. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. FP2, like Lance.
We have to talk about Alfa Romeo and Joe and Valtteri having clutch issues.
What's that?
Did we talk about the clutch issues?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
But I mean, so yes, in FP1, Alfa Romeo, they were both Joe and Valtteri were having clutch issues, and so the car was kind of stalling. And at one point, Valtteri was just like, you know what, like I'm bringing it in. I'm not driving this anymore. No, like done. It didn't seem to bother them. The rest of the
it didn't. I didn't think it did, but
yeah.
For just reference sake, I didn't get to see as much this weekend, so this is helping me just kind of get my own extra recap because of the move.
Yes. Yeah, you were a little busy moving and also no internet really where you were. So yeah. it's a little bit harder. But in FP2, like I feel like on his lap, Lance Stroll had an issue with his car, just totally lost power, brought out the red flag like immediately. And because he didn't run in the morning and because I don't remember him going back out, but he could have, I don't know. He was kind of a non-entity to me this weekend. But he could have gone back out, but I don't know. He had a red flag. Sergio hit the wall, went wide towards the end and caught the gravel and red flag. And I think that was the end. So that was pretty much it as far as like practice.
I saw that about Sergio and thought, oh no, are we doing this again? Are we going to have another,
Yeah.
I'm just
not again.
Not again. Just had flashbacks earlier in the season.
Can you imagine what he feels like in the car? Like, geez, Louise, not again.
And it just shows the kind of mental fortitude the drivers have to not let something like that set them back and cause them, as obviously how he performed today. It just didn't set him back, that's awesome.
It is. It's really, really, really awesome
for kids and stuff to realize that you can have repetitive failures from your past and still not let it set you back.
Cool. And do you know what's so interesting is I was thinking the same thing today with Lewis, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but he did not give up. Like he was griping about his tires and whatnot, but he wasn't going to stop. Like he kept passing people, like, let me just get further up, the grid. I need as many points as I can get. So yeah, I think it's great lessons for anybody. Don't give up. Don't give up. Okay, so let's talk quali. So I kind of forgot that in Monza they were doing the testing again, in the sense that you were going to have mandatory tire allocation. So in Q1 hard tires, Q2 medium, and then Q3 softs. It was kind of interesting. So like 20 minutes before Q1, Checo's car was up on the thing, like being worked on, like frantically being worked on. Thought maybe he might need a power unit, but I didn't hear anything more about that. So maybe not. I don't think he ended up needing it. And he went out there obviously and did what he needed to do. There were quite a few drivers that were having lap times deleted kind of early on. So um, Piastri towards the end, like with 2 minutes left in Q1, he had a lap time deleted. So he really had to work to get another lap in. And, you know, of course, they're all in the pits. And with 2 minutes left, it was like a freaking traffic jam trying to get out of the pits. The cars were all lined up, like just all lined up. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if somebody doesn't make it to the thing in time? Like it was absolutely crazy. So out in Q1, I feel like it's kind of our usual suspects, except for the Alpine. So both Ocon and Gasly were out in Q1. Now, here's the thing. We know they didn't look good in practice or anything else. And they only had one set of softs each. So they weren't expecting to get to Q3, but I highly doubt they thought they were going to get out in Q1. So they definitely weren't expecting Q3, but that was a little crazy. So both Alpine drivers, Lance was also out, Magnussen, and then Zhou. So, and then you had Alonso who was in 10th, like crazy. And Lawson did make it into Q2. So that was obviously his first time getting in. Yuki at the end of Q1 was in 4th and Albon was in 2nd. Oh, craziness. And then there was some drama because they said both Leclerc and Sainz failed to follow race directions by maintaining a minimum lap time. And so they were like, they're going to investigate it, you know, after.
And I didn't quite understand what that meant.
So I guess before, you know, probably in their driver's meeting on Thursday, they said they were going to have a minimum lap time. Like they didn't want, I guess, people going too slow for some reason. And so they said that both Ferraris like exceeded the minimum time that they had. So it took them more than 1 minute, 41 seconds to do a lap at the end. So I was like losing my mind because we're looking amazing this weekend and it would result in a grid drop. So I was losing it. After the race, so at the end of Q3, immediately they were like, no further investigation required, blah, blah, blah. Fred, in his interview afterwards, said, you know, it was fine. Like I don't even know if he said they did go slow. I don't know if they looked back and they saw like, fine, you know, they did make it under the time limit. But Fred was saying like, you know, we're not trying to impede other drivers either. Like everybody did go out at the same time. You know how they stack up at the end of that last turn so they could all. So he was kind of saying like, no, it was fine. We were just trying to make sure we weren't impeding anybody else from getting a qualifying, you know, lap in. So that was just a little stressful, to be honest. Q2. Hamilton, I feel like kind of struggled a little bit.
I did too. And I was able to at least watch Q2 and Q3. And it was interesting.
Yeah, like his very first lap, he was 12th. He was behind a Haas. Like
he stayed in the bottom 5 for the majority of Q2, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah. It was kind of crazy. And then again, with like 250 left, everyone's in the pits. Everybody, like it was kind of funny. I wish I could have videotaped it because everybody starts trying to come out of their garages and try to like squeeze in. It was like rush hour traffic in LA. It was kind of funny. The engineers, more than one from different teams, were telling their drivers, like, you need to pass people. Like, you need to get past people because, again, everybody's backing up at that last corner. I think Sainz's engineer told him the same thing. Like, you need to get past people. And he was like, I'm not going to be caught out for impeding somebody. Like,
Yeah.
no. But they were all trying to get out there. And I think Lando got a little caught out. I don't remember if it was a Mercedes or somebody kind of did get flew right past him to start. So out in Q2 we had Logan, Liam, Nico, Yuki, and then Botas. So Piastri pushed Yuki out at the last second. It's like every qualifying, we've got to have this car that comes across and just knocks somebody out.
I know,
And he
and
did it.
they were shooting them right at the end, and that was I thought it was like in the last 30 seconds or so, maybe it was less than that, that Hamilton did shoot up too. That because
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh man, he's going to be in the bottom 5.
Yeah, I thought he would shoot up, but he did come up at the last second. And Yuki missed out by 0.013. So 13 thousandths of a second he got pushed down. Like insane. And Lando was down toward the bottom 10. Like I don't even remember where he was, but he was down there. So I was kind of thinking, like, what is going on with I mean, Piastri got up there, but still, like, what is happening with McLaren this weekend? And then Q3, like, oh my gosh, seriously, I want to go to Monza next year. Like, I decided that is my mecca. It's like almost like the Dior store in Paris. Like, I need to go to Monza and wear all of my Ferrari gear and be with the Tifosi. Like, that's just where my calling is. So, anyways, early on, it was a Ferrari 1-2, and the crowd was going nuts. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely love it. Carlos on pole by the same as Yuki got pushed out. 13 thousandths of a second. I was off my couch, like jumping around, just praying nobody would be walking by.
See, I think it was like, when was it? Like, it was Charles got pole, and then Carlos got pole.
No, yeah, Charles, then Max. And then Carlos.
Yeah, because when Charles got it, the first thing I thought was, yay, but then I could hear in my head your voice going, oh, he never does well when he's on pole. And then Max got it, and I was like, well, okay, maybe he's got a better of a chance. I want Carlos is going to hit it. And then when Carlos hit it, I'm like, did I hear Dianne scream all the way from Germany?
You did.
From Germany? I mean,
you did, because I was screaming, like, get it, Carlos, like, vamos, let's go. Because I mean, he has been killing it around that track this weekend.
It was amazing.
Like, just do it. Like, come on, just do it.
What a great present.
Oh, yeah, it was his birthday. That was like Friday was his birthday
weekends. That's so amazing for him.
Yes, I know. So during the post-race interviews, Max was trying to speak. The Tifosi started booing. Charles waved his finger. Nope. They quieted right down. Like, we're not going to act that way. we're not gonna boo Max. Not okay. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm glad Charles like kind of said nope. That was awesome. Alex Albon though, on a roll after the summer break. P4 last week, P6 this week for qualifying. Oh, I love me some Alex Albon, and I just love to see this. I hope that it can continue. I really, really do.
Me too.
Really do. But here's another really cool stat for you. The gap in the top 3, so Carlos, Max, and Charles, 0.067 seconds. That's it for the top 3. Like, that's awesome. Like, that is drama.
That just shows you how fast that's. I knew today was going to be insane. I knew it was going to be fast. I mean, it said it's a fast track, right? And it was going to be fast. It was going to be crazy. It was going to be just drama, but good drama and intense. Yeah. So it was amazing. Didn't imagine it to start the way it did, but it was still a drama.
It was still so good, like all the way through. I mean, right down to the bitter end. Like it was so good. Okay, so let's get into the race today. I feel like this podcast is as fast as Monza. Like we're just moving, people. We're getting it going. So just as they're getting to the end of the formation lap, Carlos and Max are already in position. Here comes the back of the field. Yuki has an engine failure. His race is over before it starts. I was so sad. So sad. Yellow flag out, like ridiculous.
What person in their bright mind decided, well, let's just start it up again when the car is still sitting? Do they not have radios? It is what year? I mean, hello.
I have no idea why they did that. I mean, you weren't going to move Yuki's car that quickly. And maybe they thought like they could turn off the engine, push it. I don't know. It was like stuck in a gear. So maybe that's why. And they didn't realize, but still, like, there was so much chaos
Well,
after
they
that.
sent around the second lap, which reduces a lap off.
Yep.
And then when they sat there trying to figure out, are we going or not? The tires are cooling and the cars are just sitting there, and
Yeah.
all the pit crews are all lined up and ready to go. Like no one was communicating.
No. And a couple of the pit crew people had climbed over the wall.
Alfa Romeo mechanics.
Oh, yeah. They had climbed over the wall. And then you could see the stewards or somebody with the high vis vests on. All the pit crew is kind of around this area where they could go out onto the track, and the people in the vests were talking to them. I don't know what they were saying, but I'm sure the pit crews were like, we need to get out there. And clearly the people in the vests were like, no, because they weren't letting them out.
Let them through. It was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. Because I mean, the tires are cooling off, and then the
And
power.
and they were saying it was really hot. So you're a driver sitting there with just probably the sun beating down on you, because it was a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes before they got
20.
we got to actually go off.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. That's absolutely a lot. I kind of felt like this race, there was a lot more, he pushed me kind of stuff happening.
Especially around that one turn. And it's like, we'll talk about the one penalty that I don't think should have been a penalty, but that one turn, it's like, then put some gravel there or something, do something with that turn, because that one turn, it was so much. It's like, oh, he pushed me. My partner kept saying, he's like, back in the day, man, they would just take a driver out. They just say, screw it, like take a driver out. In fact, as much as he's a Max fan, he's like, why doesn't somebody just take out Max?
If somebody could catch him, maybe they would.
Well, I mean, he was in between two Ferraris there for a little bit. I'm just saying.
We're going to talk about that because I had, yeah. Anyways. Okay. So let's just hit some of these teams. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's go into the teams.
Yep. Let's go to the team. So again, AlphaTauri, sad little day. Yuki didn't even get to race, didn't even make it past the formation lap. I was just gutted for him. Like, that's so awful. I think Liam ended up getting promoted because somebody got a penalty. Somebody in front of him got a penalty. But then when I was just looking at the standings, it didn't really look like he had made it up. Usually Claire's got her multiple monitors and does this, but I am showing that Liam is in 13th behind Oscar. So I don't know why I thought I heard them say he was 11th. Hang on. Oh, no. Yeah. I just refreshed. He is 11th. So Oscar did get that penalty, which bumped Liam up to 11th place. So, yeah.
He actually got a penalty at the end for overtaking, like an illegal overtaking or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So
right at the end.
So Liam, I mean, just finished just outside the points. And I mean, a lot of people online were saying, like, give Liam a seat next year. Give him a seat. So maybe, I mean, he's definitely making a case for himself. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I thought he was doing well. In fact, he was staying 11th for a while. I was like, wow, look at that. And then he dropped back to like 15th or 16th. So he had to have caught up some to then for the penalty to put him up to 11. So that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad to see that. So Alpine, where did they even finish up? Towards the bottom. Like, it doesn't even matter. I mean, well, Esteban didn't finish. He retired his car on lap 41. No idea why. Just as we were starting to record, I even went to the Alpine page on Instagram to see if they said why his car retired. And again, we started recording right after the race, so I haven't seen this post-race interview. But there was nobody seems to know why his car retired. But Monza is definitely a track where you have got to have power. It is important. And that Renault engine does not have it. So, I mean, you could pretty much tell from the get-go this was not going to be a good weekend for
Ocon
Alpine.
retired, and so Gasly, I have, and this is before any kind of last penalties were set. Gasly was 16th.
Yeah. That's, not good. Wait, okay. I have the post. Let me see.
I took screenshots of the
I
timing.
mean, again, here's the thing. Pierre 15th. So, I mean, talk about just having a terrible year, and yet both of their drivers have been on the podium. It's insane.
It's crazy.
And then I started to think about yesterday, I'm like, wait a second. This is their second race without a principal. They still have interim people in positions at Alpine. Mattia was there, and apparently he was being filmed by the Netflix cameras. So maybe they're going to announce that he is going to be principal starting with Singapore. And then I started to wonder, like, would Alpine at this point, like, just finish out the year with interim people? I mean, it's September. We don't have too many more races to go. This was what, 15 out of 22?
And when I say Williams has somebody starting in October or November this year, I mean,
yeah. But I mean, if I'm Mattia, do I want to come into like this team? No. I'll start kind of like, working with you a little bit like off the record, but I'll come in next year when we have a whole new season and I can, help with everything else. So who knows? Maybe Mattia will be announced as the principal for Singapore. Maybe he won't, but Alpine, just another really tough weekend for them. And I kind of would say the same for Aston Martin. What is happening with your team?
I have no idea. I tried not to root. I tried not to pay attention. I would look on the live timing thing. I have no idea. And I just have no idea. I don't know what the heck happened to Stroll. He's just, I don't know, is Dave dreaming about playing tennis? And it was so
I have no idea. So let's
think about the commentators. They were saying something. I think they're saying that Felipe is also a tennis player. I think that's what they said it was.
Well, there is.
I think it was Felipe.
No, that's what they were talking about. But there is a tennis player with the same last name. So gotcha. I think that's what they were saying. So let's see. Fernando finished 9th and Lance finished 16th. So how many cars retired? Just the two?
2.
Okay, so he started 20th, finished 16th, but two cars retired. And Fernando only made up one spot. So very different weekend for them. I mean, he started 10th, finished 9th. Lance, like you said, I mean, some people might say, well, he didn't get FP1. His car, was not great for FP2. But what I had told you this morning is this isn't Lance's first go round. He's been at this track before, and he absolutely should have been able to pull himself out of like the bottom. You're out in Q1 while your teammate makes it all the way to Q3, and you finish at the bottom pretty much. So I really don't know what is happening there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with them.
Very different than last weekend.
Different with the car or anything. So
not that I know of.
And that's the other thing too is they commented though. The commentator said that they expected the Aston Martin to do better in Singapore.
Yeah. And that's what I was just going to say is maybe it's this track, the downforce, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe. But I don't know. It's just disappointing. It's this roller coaster. Up, good, bad, good. I mean, not bad, but just good, not so awesome.
Yeah, wow.
Not so awesome. But Williams, oh my gosh. I feel like once again, because I think this has happened more than once this season, but Williams was the fastest car in a straight line.
Oh, it was amazing.
Amazing. Insane. I'm a little worried for Logan, not gonna lie. He pretty much ran around 11th, 13th, like somewhere in there, the whole race, right? He was noted for causing a collision with Bottas. Like that kind of popped up on the screen. And I was like, what? Like we didn't get to see any of that. And he did get a 5-second penalty for it towards the end of the race. So I don't know what was happening there. Like we're coming up on a bunch of tracks that Logan either has like no experience at or very little experience at. And that's going to be tricky. And we've got some more sprint races coming up. He needs to try to make a case to keep that seat. And I'm just a little bit worried for him. That's all. I'm a little worried it might hurt his campaign.
I agree.
It could be really,
It
really.
was good though to see that car performing well, though, the car itself, you know.
The car's amazing. The car is amazing. The aerodynamics on that car, and I know they're really not doing anything more to it this year. So I am like super excited for next year, especially if Alex continues driving the way that he has been with that car. Like, I am super excited. They will bring that golf livery to Singapore. They release new Singapore merch. Okay, side note. They release new Singapore merch, but it's not golf livery Singapore merch. And I'm kind of hoping that that in this next week they're going to release it and it's not just lame, I don't know, Singapore merch. Anyways, that's just me. Because I'm ready. I'm ready with my credit card to get some of that. But Alex was amazing. Like, he was making such good moves. Now, Oscar, I know Oscar passed him at the beginning, but he came right back and just, and he was really good at fighting off for as long as he did. Lando, and then Hamilton for a little bit. Then Hamilton got past him, but like really good.
What he did though was that, let me go look at the numbers.
He finished 7th, which is amazing. He still finished ahead of Lando. Lewis did get ahead of him.
What was interesting is because Lewis got that penalty, and Lewis was able to keep the 5 seconds ahead of him. But what he did though is he kept ahead of Norris and Alonso pretty well as well, because I kept thinking if he didn't keep his gap high enough between them, not only could that 5 seconds, depending on that gap, Lewis could have fallen a lot further, but he kept a pretty good gap ahead of Norris and Alonso as well.
Yeah.
I was watching that.
He did. He really, really did. But yeah, I mean, good job, Alex Albon. I cannot wait, to see them in Singapore. That's going to be amazing. All right, moving on to McLaren. Let's talk about them a little bit. So
one thing I want to call up on a McLaren is guess who kept Max from getting that extra point?
Who? Did Lando?
Oscar
got the fastest lap? What? I did not realize that. Oh, wowza. Good for Oscar.
I was looking that up. It says fastest lap for Monza was Piastri. In lap 43, he got the fastest lap. He beat him by point almost 1.7, like 1.68 or something like that. But
that's awesome. What a rookie year. Like, fastest lap?
Fastest lap. Max got that extra point. It was just so funny because they were talking about in the commentary, oh, he needs just 26 points this week. I'm like, he's not going to miss one. He's going to miss one. Go, Oscar.
Yay, Oscar. Yay. Well, Saturday, McLaren did celebrate their 60th birthday. They've been talking about it all year, but also they had a little sticker with like their original crest on the very nose of the front wing. So that was kind of cute. At the very beginning of the race, I thought it was interesting because Oscar did qualify. He outqualified Lando. So he was a smidge higher up on the grid. But shortly after the race started, Lando on team radio was like, he wanted team orders. He's like, I'm faster than him. And his engineer came back and said, we're looking at that. So it was not a
fastest lap.
Yeah, it was not a, I don't know, like it was not a, yeah, Lando, you're our main guy. Like at McLaren, they're definitely letting them race it out. Like, you two figure it out on the track. But then they had some contact. I about died. Like, seriously, I saw that and I was like, these two
Yeah.
going to take each other out. What are you doing?
And then there was no penalty, and I'm like, what penalty are you going to give? It's their teammates. I mean, they're going to take each
Yeah.
other out and cause a penalty to the other, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no. I think when it's teammates, they really do tend to let it go. I think that's why we saw that back in Australia with us, Ocon and Gasly, when
Yeah.
they kind of hit each other. And it's like, they didn't, in this race, the McLarens did not impede anybody else with that issue. They bumped into each other. Like, Oscar was able to go in and change his front wing because there was totally damage to that, and then get back out there. So, like, yeah, that would be so ticky tack, like, to me, to do that. I don't know. But
Yeah.
Lando on his radio, like, I think we talked about this before, where Oscar seems to be like, he sounds, like, kind of like, well, I was going to say like Max, but Max kind of gets frustrated here and there. But Oscar's like very even keel, and Lando is not. Like, he just says what he says. So at one point, his engineer was telling him, trying to, like, we think Alex is doing, whatever. And Lando cuts him off and is like, I can see what you're seeing. Like, just stay off of my radio. Like, I don't need to hear it. So yeah, kind of a little crazy. And then Oscar, I mean, talk about an eventful race. He runs into his teammate, he got fastest lap, and then Lewis hit him. So again, towards the end of the race, Lewis did not give him enough space. He ends up getting in front of Oscar, but wait, was that when he got the front wing damage? I was thinking it was with
No, I thought the front wing damage is when the two of them hit.
Wait, Lewis and Oscar?
No, the McLarens hit.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
it wasn't with Lewis, because the Lewis and them did not hit, and Lewis got that penalty.
Their tires did hit though.
But I mean, they didn't hit. They didn't. I don't think they caused any damage though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then Lewis did get that 5-second penalty. So
yeah,
that was kind of crazy.
The thing that I thought was interesting about the penalty, that's when he got the penalty, right? Was with Oscar?
Lewis? Yeah.
Yeah. What I thought about that one was interesting was that, because it was for going through and, avoiding, or they gave it to him not for the hit, but for the going off the race to get ahead. Going off the track to get ahead. I thought that's what they gave it to him for.
Oh, I was thinking it was because he didn't leave space for Oscar. There was nowhere for Oscar to go.
Yeah, I have to go back and look, because if it was for the getting ahead, that's how I wrote it down, and I could be wrong, because what I thought was interesting was that if you looked at it, and maybe they reassessed it, and that's what they gave him the penalty for, because he was ahead of him before he went off, versus another one later when they were not ahead, and that was different. They were talking about later another one at that same corner. They were talking about two people, and then like they didn't. No, that was Russell. Sorry, I'm talking Russell's.
Oh yeah.
I'm confusing my Mercedes.
Did George get a penalty?
That's called Black seat.
He might. I don't know. Let's talk about Mercedes though. Let's talk about it. We'll just go from the beginning. So,
yes, Russell got a penalty for that.
Okay. Yeah. So this was kind of funny.
How many penalties?
Speaking of like radios, George, his engineer comes on and tells him he needs to start watching his tires, like maintain the tires on turn 6. And George responds with, I'm not sure. Well, I wish I could do a British accent because I think it would be so much funnier. But he responds with, I'm not sure if you can tell, but I have a car up my bleep. Like, I just had to laugh because Checo was all over him.
And the commentator's like, why are they bleeping?
It was so funny, but he did. Checo was all over George's rear end, like big time. And it was not until lap 16 that like Checo finally got past him, but I just had to laugh at that. I just thought that was funny. Yes, the George, he was investigated for going off track during the battle with Ocon.
Yes, that was it. What I thought about that one was that that was the one where he was completely ahead of him before he went off track. So he got ahead of him, then he went off track. Ocon did not. And so, yes, I guess he got a little further ahead of him, but he was ahead of him before he went off track. Whereas all the other ones that went off track there and got ahead, the going off track got them ahead. Whereas in this one, if you go back and look at the replay, George is ahead, then goes off, and then I don't know why he goes off, but he goes off after he gets ahead. Maybe he thought he was going to be maybe he thought he was coming up on him and he wanted to get out of his way, but he went ahead of him, then goes off, and then Ocon goes around, which I thought was interesting that he got the penalty because he didn't give him the position back. But I think I didn't listen to anything post race.
Well, he couldn't give the position back because by the time they assessed it, George was 3 cars ahead of Ocon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he was gone. Like
he was gone. But it was just interesting because all the other ones that happened at that point where they went off and one car got the advantage and they gave it back or whatnot, it was because they actually got the advantage by going off.
Yeah.
Whereas
I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at it because I was thinking that George, he did go off and like he didn't really need to, like there was room. So I'll have to go back and
I think it did look like there was room. The only thing I could think of in my head is he was thinking that he was trying to get out of Ocon's way. He didn't want to push him off or anything. It just the one angle. But yeah, I mean, he gets the penalty, but it's just my original thought was it because the way they were talking about originally is that they was giving him the penalty. The commentators thought he was going to get the penalty for not giving him the place back. I was like, wait a minute, he got beyond him before he went off. Before he went off, so that shouldn't be the reason. So I don't know.
I just think I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch it too, but there was no way for him to give the place back. He was 3 cars ahead of Ocon by that point, and you can't, make George give, those other cars a place as well. So I think that Lewis was the last car to pit. I could be wrong, but I feel like he was leading the race for a little bit just because of all the pit stops. But then when he came back out, so Lewis started on hards. I don't know who else did. Most cars were starting on the mediums and then went to the hards.
He was the last one to do the first pit. There's several that did a second pit. So yes, he was the last one to do the initial pit.
Okay. So what I thought was really funny is when he came back out, I don't know how many laps he was out there, just less than a handful. And he was complaining to Bono that he complained about how long he needed to go on the tires. So he started with the hards, went to the mediums. And then he goes right past Fernando. So he's complaining. I don't know. We screwed ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Goes past Fernando, and then he complains again, and he's like, I think we screwed ourselves with these tires. And his engineer Bono's like, yeah, others have made it this far on the same. So zip it, get back to work. Those people started on mediums, went 20 laps. So let it go. But yes, he was hit with that 5-second penalty for bumping into Piastri. But then he was making moves. He passed Norris. He passed Alex. Got himself up there into 6th place, I think. He was right behind George.
Yeah, right? He was. Hamilton 6.
Yep. So I mean, awesome because he started a little bit further-ish back. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyways, not bad. Okay, let's talk about Red Bull because I'm saving Ferrari for last. So, amazing. Okay, Max, lap 4, was already Carlos is sliding. We're going to be good. And his engineer, GP, is just calm down. Let's be smart.
I love the F1 commentators. Well, that's going to be broadcast everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And then lap 6, boy, Max was really trying to make some moves, and Sainz was full on, elbows out, aggressive.
I love that, elbows out. And Max was like, that was naughty.
And you could tell he was kind of laughing. But you know what? Nope. Carlos, and we'll talk about this in a second, but he was aggressive all weekend. I mean, I think a lot of drivers were actually complaining about him during practice and early quali. but
think
he
he's
was,
just over it, man. He is just over his engineers. He's over being second fiddle to Charles. I think he
yeah,
is just over it.
yes. And he
Over
turned
it.
29 on Friday, and he's probably
He's
like,
got no to give.
yep, that's exactly right. I think exactly right. Perez was really, really working it though. Where did he start? Do you remember? He was, I kind of feel like, and we've talked about this before, like Perez does himself no favors during qualifying, and yet somehow he is just doggedly goes after car after car after
He
car
started
until
on P5.
so 5 to second. Okay, not bad, but still, like he was going hard, just all over whoever was in front of him, whether it was like Russell and then Charles, then Carlos, like he was all over everybody.
He and Charlotte,
Everybody.
man, for the longest. That
Oh,
was like
yeah.
back and forth. And those were two that kept hitting that corner. He'd get past and be like, oh, I used the corner. I got to go back. And I got to go back. Oh,
Yeah.
it was like a dogfight between the two of them. This was an exciting race.
It really was. And like the Ferraris really helped to make that very exciting. Because Charles also, and we'll talk about Ferrari in a second, but he was not giving up either. Okay, so finally on lap 15, it took Max 15 laps to get Carlos. But he said in his post-race interview, I knew I was going to have to force Carlos into a mistake. Like, I'm just going to have to do it. And sure enough, Carlos locked up, and it was enough space to give Max the pass through. It was all the opening that he
no, he made him lock up, and that was.
Yep, that was it. Yep, it was crazy.
It was interesting, and then he took off. He was getting. They were saying he was getting a lap faster laps each lap. And they were saying it was just the tires. The Mercedes, the Ferrari, their tires were just spent at that point.
Yeah. I think everybody's were. And that was something that they were talking about even before the race. Alex Albon said before the race, like he was concerned about the tires because the heat, it was so hot. And then you had all of these battles, like, you know, on the track, whether it was at the front or even the middle of the packs. And it was just chewing up the tires.
Well, and if I understood it correctly, just a quick segue, because I know we're nearing an hour on the tires, is we talked at the beginning of the tires, you know, going from soft to hard, but it's a range. And at the beginning of each race, they set what that range is. So if we have an option of 5 or 6 tires to begin with?
Yeah.
They set these soft, medium, and hard somewhere in there. So what's considered a hard is not always hard. So what we had is hard this time might be considered soft in another race, right? Because it's the softest of them. So they use the 3 softest tires that are available today. What they were saying. Yeah, so they said they were using the 3 softest tires that were of the softest end, you know, they're that the lineup. So the softest tire, the next one. So the middle tire was the hard tire.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the tires got to work out today.
Research that. So if I'm wrong, anyone listening, that's how I understood it by what they were saying and one of the things I was listening to today.
Yeah. I just wonder, because you know how there's like a couple of versions of the soft, couple of the yellow, couple of the hards. If they took the softest of the hards, that was,
okay, that makes sense. But yeah, they said they had the softest line out today.
I believe it. Well, they got to work out. That is for sure. I thought it was kind of funny during that you mentioned the battle of Perez and Charles, like just the back and forth. And that was one of the times where like Checo just kept complaining. Like, he's not giving me enough space. I'm not getting enough space. And finally his engineer is like, you're faster than him. You need to go get it. And he did. That's when he kind of took him down, and like, that was it. Then he finally got past Carlos on lap 46. I was like, can we just hold on? We only have 51 laps, and can we just hold on? But Carlos couldn't do it. His tires were toasted, and Perez was just too fast. But Max makes history, F1 history, 10th win in a row. Insane. And I kind of was thinking, like, it is kind of cool to watch it. Like Michael Schumacher, you know, or Vettel, sorry, I keep saying Michael. Vettel, you know, that was like, what, early 2000s? So when that last happened, I mean, it's now like, I don't even know, 15, 18 years later. And holy cow, we get to watch it. We'll be able to say like, and again, if we had gone to Monza, we could have been there. But anyways, it's all good. You just got your card, so we wouldn't have been able to travel anyways. I would be there by myself. Um, but after the race, it was kind of funny. In Max's interview, he was talking about the top speed that Carlos had. Like, it's amazing, that top speed, and how he, knew he had to force Carlos into a mistake. But in the driver room, which is one of my favorite parts of race day, he did tell Carlos, he's like, I felt sorry for you at the beginning because your car, you were sliding all over the place. And Max, he's going to bide his time, just feeling sorry for the person in front of him because
Yep.
he can see what's happening. But okay, let's do Ferrari.
Holy cow. To me, the majority of the race was a Ferrari race.
It really was, but I was not happy about that. I mean, by the end. Okay, wait, let's start at the beginning. Carlos's start. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He got off the line so freaking fast. Like, I couldn't believe it.
He said he was only 0.04 seconds slower than Max off the line.
Yeah, but he was ahead of Max off the line.
He was ahead of line, yeah. He was just slightly, it was just like a slower, but he was able to keep himself ahead, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, that amazing.
And it led for 15 laps. That was amazing.
I don't know if that's like the most this year or not.
I think so.
Carlos, yes. Yay, Carlos. Charles really had to fight George off at the beginning, though. Like, George, he's always very, very aggressive off the start. Like, he just is. And Charles really kind of had to battle him a lot. But Carlos, I think, was they call Checo the Minister of Defense. Like, I think today that was Carlos all day. Like, just how he did have to be elbows out with Max, we'll talk about the end of the race in a second, but how he really had to do really be elbows out with his own teammate. I thought it was kind of interesting. The commentator said through lap 9, the top 3 were just still a second apart. So talk about an amazing race. Like,
it was to watch the camera angles just to see those 3 cars just the whole time so close to each other, going in and out, around the curves, down the straight.
It made for an exciting race.
Well, and then when they even said, okay, DRS is going to be enabled, we're going to see this change, and it didn't for laps. I mean, 15 laps, it was like, that was pretty cool.
That was, to be that close, it was, I don't know. It was so amazing. Like you said, once Max kind of got out there, it was a little like whatever. It to me, like, I feel like I was in a flight or fight status like the whole race, and I've been trying to like regulate my nervous system. This morning did not help me like at all. But to see him walk up, I was so nervous. Like, all of those battles where Max was trying to get past him, I was like, do not, Carlos, do not go off, do not make a mistake. So when he did lock up, I was gutted. I was like, damn it. But now we just need to remain in second. Like, just do it. So when Charles came out of the pits, when he went into pit, Carlos was able to stay in front of him, but like by this much. Ridiculous. Charles was absolutely attacking. They were side by side. Like,
it was like 2 brothers beating the hell out of each other. They were just on it. Like,
I was dying. And I didn't even want to say this to you because I did not want to put this out there in the universe. But I was like, I swear to God, if these 2 take each other out, like, we finally are having a good race.
We said the same thing. Like, they're going to take each other out, and then it's going to be. And I said, Diane would be livid.
I was on the edge of my seat. I was actually standing up most of especially the end of the race, because I was like, if these 2, and I'm just going to say, like, okay, we'll get to Charles and Carlos in a second because that's a whole thing. That battle with Checo and Carlos, those last 10 minutes, ridiculous. Like, it was so close. Like, they almost hit. And then you've got Charles, like they battling him to the very last lap. And even in the driver room, um, Carlos said something to Max. I think Max had said, they were watching video. That's what it was. And he says, "Is that the last lap?" That's what Max said. And Carlos is like, "Yeah, we were battling until the end, like the end." And there was times their tires were like millimeters apart, millimeters.
I felt they almost hit one time. I was like,
I don't know how they didn't hit, to tell you the truth. And I was like getting very, very mad at Charles. Like, stop it. This is insane. You guys are going to take each other out. Carlos has earned, like, they always give Charles priority in the team orders. Carlos has earned this. Like, why do we have to go down to the end? Not that it wasn't exciting. I will probably go back and rewatch it and be knowing what happened. I'll be a little bit more free to be like, whew, that was some really good racing. But Carlos at one point said to his engineer, like, come on, guys, like, let's just bring this home. And I was like, exactly. Can we please? Like, what is happening? And
I don't understand like team orders and that, like why they didn't just let it go. I don't understand.
You mean like let them race, or just
just let Carlos have it?
I agree. I mean, maybe let them race, but you don't let Carlos do that in other races when they're that close.
Yeah, let it like make at least could have told Cheryl, okay, you could be a little aggressive, but not so much that there's a chance you're going to take you both out.
Right, which is what they did. Now, Charles even went off that one section. Like and here's me, like, can we both get really good points? Like, we both need to get good points. So, Charles, if you even take yourself out because you're putting yourself in positions, and Carlos is still elbows out, like, I'm not going to let you take my podium. This is my birthday weekend, gosh darn it, and I am getting the podium after I had pole. Charles, you take yourself out, and then we only get one set of points? Like, no. Let's not do that. And Charles' engineer said to him, and it was contradictory, like, let's not take risks or no risk, but let's race until the end. Okay. What? Like, I don't get it.
Interesting.
I know. But I think Carlos is a really good teammate. And at the end, his interview, he said, he really gave Charles, I think, a lot of props, because he was like, you know what? I enjoy racing Charles. We had a lot of fun. It's a pleasure to race against him. But I kind of wish I was a fly on the wall when he talks to his family or his manager or even somebody, his engineer. Like, why are we doing that? It made for a great race. It definitely made the end of the race exciting. You said, like, this race is all Ferrari, which true, but as a Ferrari fan, like, ugh, we don't need the stress. Like, we just don't need the stress. We go through it every weekend. We don't need it.
Which is interesting. This was a race that at least that I can recall. This is one of the few races that we really only focused on those first few. Like, there wasn't a lot of discussion in the back that we don't really know what happened in the back of this race.
Yeah.
There was so much excitement between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, even around 5 and 6 a little bit.
Yeah.
But you didn't really talk about 7, 8, 9, definitely 8, 9, 10. Didn't talk about
no
Fernando much at all. And he was 10 and further. He was 11th a couple of times.
Yeah.
Really didn't talk much about 9. So about there and further.
Yep. You know what? You are spot on, especially how much time was spent on the top 3 or 4, because this year there has been a lot of focus on the middle of the pack, because that's where the fights have been. That's where the drama has been. And you are 100% spot on.
This is the first race. It was really at the front. That was
we didn't even see like that bow toss, collision. Some of those penalties that were coming up were like, that happened.
It's not like there's a penalty. What happened? And they even said, "Oh, we'll get you a replay. We'll see if we've got that," because nobody had it. Like, because even the F1 people were like, "We're up here. This is exciting over here."
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I did not that didn't dawn on me at all, but it was like, I think, one of the most exciting races of the year, just because of all that battle at the front. amazing. So Carlos actually, this is his first podium of the season, which kind of surprised me because I feel like he's been up there. He just never gets the podium. And then he was also driver of the day. So that's almost like winning according to Lando Norris. So when you have Max always winning, it's kind of like winning. So yay, Carlos. Happy birthday. What an amazing weekend. Okay, really quickly beyond the grid. Kind of beyond the grid, but in FP3, the FP3 title was won by Gabriel Bortolito, who actually is managed by Fernando. So Fernando kind of did have a good weekend because his guy won the FP3 or the F3 title. So good for him. Yay. And then there was pictures going around about the Monte Carlo Paddle Masters. And it was Alex, George, Max, and Lando played doubles of paddle. They call it paddleball, I think, over in Europe, and we call it pickleball here. And yeah, there are so many cute pictures, lots of jokes about like who won. I guess Lando was one of the best. So he and Alex are the best, and they trounced George and Max and then decided they need to split up Alex and Lando. And so, yeah, it just looked like a really fun time. But what I thought was interesting, so many people were commenting on these photos, like, oh, I have so much more respect for Max that he's hanging out with the other drivers, or it's great to see these drivers off the grid doing things. And it's like, do you people not pay attention? These people all came up in karting together.
Yeah.
Like they know each other, yes, for sure. Like Lando and Max are pretty good friends. Alex, I mean, they do stuff together. It should not be a surprise. This happened to these pictures came out. And we already mentioned it was Carl's birthday. So next week we don't have a race. So I don't know what we're going to do for the podcast, but we will have one. We'll figure it out. And then we've got Singapore, which should be cool. It's a night race. Look at,
My
there's your puppy coming in at the very end. Hi, Luda. But it's a night race. It should be really fun. Did she sit on you?
No. Luda.
She's like, hey.
Oh.
She's like, I don't want to be on camera. We should have the golf livery for William, so it should be a lot of fun. Should definitely be a lot of fun. So, yay!
Well, that was a lot. Hopefully by then I will be settled into my new place and have internet and things will be normal. And
yes, I know. Good luck with the rest of
the record there because it's a different setup, but we'll figure it out.
Oh, we will make it work. That is for sure.
It's time to get back over there and do some more unpacking.
Yes, go do it. Go do it. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Thanks for coming along on the ride. We'll see you guys in a week.
Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and a review. To stay up to date with She Loves the Grid and get all the behind the scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at She Loves the Grid and on Facebook at facebook.com/She Loves the Grid. Thank you for joining us for the ride this week.